Wow. Welcome to my Car and Train channel. Today I want to present you this miniature layout display of the Sandusky coal dock. It's very elaborate. So let's have an overview of the layout itself.
So this is a model of the number 3 coal dock in Sandusky, Ohio. It's been operational since 1939 until today, every season. And I enjoy talking about it. It was the first job that my father had after he graduated from high school in 1938. It's a tender model, but.
And are you able to make it work?
Yeah. I mean, I can run it. I'll see what we can get going for you.
You're making my day.
I gotta stay for this.
Wow.
So they bring about 25 to 30 cars up out of the yard, full cars, and then bring them up. This green building is a warming shed, so if it was winter time, the cars would spend a little bit of time in the warming shed to try and break the coal up so it wasn't a big giant frozen block. And then once the car would roll up, coming by train from the Appalachian coal fields.
Okay.
Those are some examples of the coal that comes up. And the... you gotta do this once a week, right? I'll be here every day. You'll get sick of seeing me. So the coal comes up from the Appalachian coal fields. This is... Sandusky is not the southernmost port on the Great Lakes. But Huron, the next town over, is the southernmost port on the Great Lakes. So it was the nearest point of approach for the Appalachian coal fields to get onto the Great Lakes. So they come up here and get loaded. We initially had at one time there were 5 coal loading operations in the bay. But these were the last 2 operational ones in the West End, creatively named number 1 and number 2. But they were steam operated. They were steam operated dumpers. When this one was built in '37, it was a big deal because it was an all electric operation.
Ah, okay.
So AC power was brought down to the dock, which they had to transform and rectify into DC power because everything on the dumper is DC drive motors. And pretty much everything that's in the dumper that was there in '37
is here in the model.
There's been some changes and modifications, from tube technology to solid state controls and things like that. It's out of the warmer, and this engine has lived here on this track since '37. This DC pusher, it runs the car up to a hump in the track where it stops, and then this cable driven, it's called the barney, or they call it the pig, comes out of a pit down below the tracks to push the car up to the dumper. The only thing that moves the empty out of the dumper is a new car coming into the dumper. So.
Oh, okay.
So, just check my switch position up here. So, we're going to bring the full car up the hump into the cage.
Wow. So it's almost, have you been to the Panama Canal, excuse me?
No, I have not.
It's the same...
the same sort of thing moves it up.
Yeah.
Now, we have a little bit of a problem up here, but normally what would happen is that the loaded car would push the empty completely clear of the dumper. It sometimes gets a little hung up because we have a misalignment.
A miss on the rails. No, but look. Wow.
Okay, so he's hung up right at the end there. So
Okay, here we go. Go ahead if you want to push it.
I have to open this so that I can be able to grab the switch when it comes down off the. Oops.
Wow.
So now we've got a full car in the cage, and it'll raise the entire car up, turn it inverted, and dump it into the chute, and then send it down into the cargo hold of the ship.
And it's working.
Whoops. Checklist. That's why we have a checklist. That's why we have a checklist.
Oh yeah, you need to remove the...
That guy's got to come down.
Still playing, huh?
Yeah.
Good, how are you?
Good. There's actually a freighter down there right now being loaded. If I had my boat in the water, I'd take it down to show it to you live.
Wow. That's a real deal.
One of the old ones or the one in operation?
This is the one in operation now.
Just fun to go. Jump off that. Jump off other things up there.
So in the meantime, while this whole operation would be happening here, they'd be bringing the second car up, positioning it down at the bottom, and the pig would bring the next car up. They set a record for loading and dumping. They did 44 cars in 44 cars in an hour was the
Wow.
record that they set.
So almost one per minute.
But yeah, I mean it was amazing.
How many cars to fill an average ship?
I don't know the answer to that question. So it probably they bring a cut of 25 to 30 cars up at a time. So that might be how many are in there at the other end.
There was nothing like happening back then, huh?
That's like, it's gonna stop, Ralph. When it stops, jump on it. Now just make sure you jump on the end with the brake wheel on it. Because if you don't, it's easy when the car is filled with coal to run from one end to the other. But when it's empty, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And if you get on the wrong end, you're not gonna be able to stop it when it comes into the empty hole. And it's gonna be a rough stop. And he put that in 41 when the war started. I was like, why don't you go back, Dad? Let's come down.
Good seeing you, John.
You too.
And then some of the explanations. But let's go back to the layout itself in more details. So this is the portion where the rail cars are turned over to load the ships. Let's go see from the other side.
There's some vendors out in the boathouse and stuff, and the vintage boats are a little hard to get to today.
Here is the plug for the command. Let's look a little bit more in detail.
You've got a
John, if anybody does, John does.
This is the map, and you can see here the coal dock and the channel for the boats to go out of the bay, the Sandusky Bay.
I enjoy talking about it. It was the first job that my father had after he graduated from high school in 1938. And he went to work here on the dock, and worked here on the dock until December of 1941, when world events took him elsewhere.
Yeah, and thank you for his service, because you save us in France.
So this dock, today, you know, the coal industry has changed over the years, but all the 95% of the coal that we ship out of Sandusky is metallurgic coal, which means it's not combustible coal. It's used as, as an ingredient in high carbon steel.
Okay.
So, and the dock here in Sandusky has some special capacity. Number one, they're certified for ground storage, so they can store different coal from different mines on the pier. And then when a buyer wants the coal, they can request specific blends. It's like, I need 20% from this mine, 20% from that mine, you know, and 60% from a different mine, and they can blend up to 3 different coals into a specific blend for the end user's desires. They also control the moisture content, which has to do with preserving the coal in transit and also keeping it from combusting, you know, sort of spontaneously. But it's been a very interesting industry, and you know,
and by the way, you know that you speak about the high-strength steel.
Yes.
It was found by Bessemer,
right?
Close to Chicago, and that changed the world, you know, because basically
blast furnace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that allowed, for example, to build the first high-rises in Chicago after the fire that destroyed part of the city.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah,
right
I am a metallurgist by. That's my education.
So you absolutely know.
Yeah.
So
that changed because before it was steel was more like cast.
Right. So it was much more brittle.
Exactly. And with the oxygen, he was able to remove all the impurity that would float above the bath of steel and get those high-strength steel that were used everywhere, but building were a big thing, because basically before you could not build taller than 12 or 13 story, because that was the limit of stone resistance.
I see.
So suddenly with steel, it became almost unlimited.
Yeah, that's spectacular. Yeah.
And this is today's access to the yard. And this is the bay side of the coal operation. Thanks for watching this video. I have many more cool layouts, including coal layout, on my current train channel.